the worldwide war against crime, there are men and women trained to sink their own identity in the international underworld. They work alone, in danger and in shadow, unrecognized by friend and enemy alike. They are the operators of the almost legendary Ghost Squad.
Evening, sweetheart. Looking for something? Breaking and entering. That's illegal, sweetheart. You've been breaking the law.
Yes, I understand perfectly, sir. Certainly, sir, I'll tell him. Very good, sir. Goodbye. That was the chief, Tony. He wants you to take over Dave Welford's assignment. I'll be looking after this end while he's away.
Okay.
All I can tell you about Dave is that his body was discovered early this morning near the main Chelmsford-Harwich Road.
Well, what was he doing in Essex?
We don't know. He went undercover 5 days ago. Jean had a few words with him yesterday.
What about?
He asked me to get him these.
Seat on this afternoon's plane for Rotterdam and a ticket for tonight's boat from the Hook of Holland to Harwich. Did he say why he wanted them?
No, just that it was urgent. He'd been chasing down a rumor that London had become the center of a gold smuggling operation.
Yes, well, we've heard that one before, haven't we?
This must be more than a rumor, and Dave's dead to prove it. How did he sound over the phone, Jean?
In a hurry. But then Dave always sounded like that. As if everything had to be sewn up in no time flat. Excuse me a moment.
You know him well?
Yes.
Rotterdam, eh? What do you think's going on there? And why did Dave want to fly there and come back by boat? Why not return by air as well?
I don't know. Unless the boat's important.
And the plane merely the fastest way of reaching it.
Then whatever Dave was after may be on that boat tonight.
Well, if it is, Tony, you've got to find it. Now then, the Hook to Harwich crossing takes about 6 hours. Just enough time for a quick check on the passengers, cargo, and crew, so you haven't got long.
What'll I be looking for?
Oh, anything unusual, anything that makes you suspicious, a familiar face or two. Perhaps even some gold. We'll alert customs to keep an eye open for that.
Do you want them in on it?
We need all the help we can get, and we don't have long to line it up.
This was a long shot to begin with. At least Dave must have known what he'd be looking for. I was just fishing. As far as could be made out, the cargo, passengers, and crew were all in the clear. And if anyone was smuggling gold in his car, he'd found a new place to hide it.
Coffee, please. Black.
Will passenger Didcot please contact the ship's garage? Passenger Didcot to the garage, please.
Oh, will that be all, sir?
Attention, please. Because of unforeseen circumstances, we regret there will be a slight delay in the unloading of cars at the dockside.
Will that be all, Mr. Begson?
What's that, Herbert?
I just wondered if there'd be anything else.
No, thank you. Oh, Herbert.
Yes, sir.
What's the hold-up at garage?
Oh, it's not serious, sir. One of the cars has a puncture and is blocking the entrance to the ramp.
Oh, I see. Thank you, Herbert.
Thank you, Mr. Begson. We'll see you next week, sir.
If I don't lose my job at the Treasury in the meantime?
I think that's most unlikely, sir. But the country would really go broke then, sir, I'm sure. See you next week. We'll be alongside in a moment, sir.
Thanks.
Is there anything else I can get you?
No, thank you. I have everything I need.
Everything I need. All I had was a clean ship, or at least a ship that seemed to be clean. The next move was up to customs. I could only hope they'd have better luck than me.
Right, sir. Thank you. Anything doing?
Nothing. That's the last one. All right, boys, you can go. Looks like a clean ship, sir.
Looks like.
Well, you can never be 100% certain, not without taking the whole ship apart. And our instructions were no fuss.
So you would say no gold went through?
Well, not unless Fred's got it. You're a bit late. What kept you?
50 pounds air pressure. That's what kept me, mate.
What?
50 pounds air pressure. That's what one of them motorists had in his front tyres. 50 pounds. And he says he can't understand why one of them blew out.
What make of car was this?
American job, Fairlane. I know they're big, but even they don't need no 50 pounds air pressure in the front tyres.
You remember the number?
YCR 618.
Why do you remember it so well?
Because I'm a motorist myself, mate. If ever I see that car coming towards me, I'll stop dead and jump for cover. With 50 pounds in his front tyres, he must have more blowouts than I have backfires.
Thanks.
Come on, then. How about me, Tick?
Oh, right, Fred. See you.
You got a telephone handy?
Yes, use the one in the office, Mr. Miller.
Thanks.
You want something?
I'm not sure. But I want that car traced, found, and followed.
Why?
I'm curious about the tire pressures. 50 pounds seems an awful lot of air.
You got it?
Good. Well, did you have a nice trip, sweetheart?
No, Max, I didn't.
Why? What went wrong?
Front tyre blew out.
Where?
On a ferry.
No one spotted anything, did they?
No, but they could have. As far as I'm concerned, that's my lot. You can tell your boss it was my last trip.
Now, don't get impulsive about this, love.
Impulsive? You went on a ferry. Was a hell of a risk I took.
Hell of a fee you were paid, wasn't it?
Well, I don't care anymore, Max. I lost interest.
That's not all you lost, is it? Look, go and get yourself a cup of tea at the cafe on the corner. Steady your nerves down, all right, love?
What about my car?
Don't worry about that, sweetheart. Uncle Max will fix it. When you get back, she'll be ready for the road. I'll even replace the inner tube free of charge.
Well, I meant what I said, Max. That's my last trip.
Bring us one back without milk, love. 5 lumps. I've got a sweet tooth. Hello? Ah, Mr. B.
Hello, Max. Has Didcot arrived yet?
I say yes.
What do you mean by that?
Well, that blowout in the ferry really shook him up a bit, didn't it? I've just had to send him off for a cup of tea to steady his nerves.
Yes, I'm beginning to mistrust that gentleman. He panics rather too easily.
You can say that again. He's just been rambling on about packing the whole thing in. Told me to tell you this was going to be his last trip. Sounds as if he meant it this time.
Indeed. Well, it may well be his last trip. Gentlemen like Mr. Didcot are easily replaceable. Now, what about this present consignment? Have you dismantled it yet?
No, not yet. I'm just going to bolt the doors and start work on it now.
You'll treat it gently, won't you? Not that it's exactly fragile, but it is rather sensitive to rough treatment.
Leave it to me, Mr. B. I'll handle it as if it was gold.
This is what you wanted, Tony? 1959 Fair Lane, YCR 618, registered to a Mr. Thomas
Didcot?
That's right. How did you know?
I'd already heard it this morning, over the loudspeaker on the ferry. He was asked to go to the garage.
Oh, because of the blowout?
That's right. Where's the car now, Mike?
At Didcot's home. You've got the address down there.
When did you get there?
At 1:10 this afternoon.
It's about an hour ago.
And the ferry docked at 7 this morning. Took him long enough to drive from Harwich to London NW6.
Well, perhaps he stopped somewhere.
Oh, he was spotted just outside Ilford at midday. He drove home direct from there.
Mike, I'd like our boys to take a look at that car.
You mean you'd like it borrowed?
Borrowed.
When?
Could they do it tonight?
Oh, with any luck, they could pick it up about 11. We should get a report in about 2:30 or 3.
We?
I've got a personal interest in this case, Tony.
So have I.
Good afternoon, Miss Armstrong.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Blakeson. Had a good trip?
Oh, not too bad, thank you. Thanks. Well, now, what's been happening while I've been away,
Oh, nothing very much. That's Sir Alice's office.
Oh, yes?
He's been trying to get you all morning. He rang 3 times.
What about, you know?
Yes. He wanted to know if you'd finished your memorandum for the International Monetary Commission. I told him I thought you had.
Well, that was very rash of you, Miss Armstrong. I still have about half of it left to do.
Sorry, Mr. Blakeson.
Oh, that's all right. With any luck and a quiet telephone, I should have it ready by 5. Anything else?
Oh, nothing very special. You have a meeting at the Treasury tomorrow morning at 10, lunch at the Athenaeum at 1, and the Parliamentary Subcommittee at 3. It's all in the book.
Thank you. That'll be all.
Oh, Mr. Blakeson,
Mm-hmm.
you didn't by any chance
What?
perfume?
Oh, perfume. Miss Armstrong, I'm sorry, but I clean forgot. Never mind. I'll get you some on my very next trip. That's a promise.
When will that be, Mr. Blakeson?
Well, I haven't yet made the arrangements, but as soon as I do, I'll let you know. Now, get Mr. Alistair Burton's office, will you?
How's it going?
All right.
And what can you tell us about it, George?
What had you in mind?
Any work been done on it recently?
Oh, the oil pan's been dropped and a new seal fitted. Come over here and I'll show you. Here it is. It's been taken off.
Why, do you think?
Oh, may have been an oil leak around the old seal.
When was this done?
Judging from the condition of the engine oil, I'd say very recently.
Could it have been part of a regular service?
If it had been, the rest of the car would have been greased, but it hasn't been touched.
What about the tire pressures?
34 front, 36 at the back. And, oh yes, the spare's got a brand new inner tube.
And all the ship's garage did was a wheel change.
In that case, that car's been to another garage.
George, why would anyone drive around with 50 pounds air pressure in the front tires?
He wouldn't.
Well, this one did. Why?
Well, I suppose if the front end of the car was loaded down, it might help to give it a more normal appearance.
If you put for 50 pounds air pressure in the front tires?
Yes.
George, could you get much gold in that oil pan?
Yeah, I thought that was coming. No, Tony, you'd have no room left for engine oil.
Well, gold's pretty heavy.
Yeah, and this pan ain't very big. Tony, sorry.
All right. If you couldn't get the gold inside the oil pan, why not put the oil pan inside the gold?
You mean coat it with gold? Hey, that's a thought.
Or better still, why not a solid gold oil pan? Is that possible, George?
Yeah, gold's easily molded.
And the pan would be pretty heavy.
Uh-huh.
Which would account for the tire pressures.
Yeah.
But gold's such a distinctive color. How would they get away with that?
Could be sprayed or smeared on with grease or oil or gucko. Look, most pans are filthy anyway.
Now, George, suppose Didcot took this car to a garage somewhere on the continent and had the oil pan replaced by one made of gold. And then suppose, just suppose, he brought the car over to England, took it straight to a garage where the gold pan was taken off and that one fitted in its place, all right?
Well, it makes sense, I'll say that.
But if it proved?
Not from the car.
Anything else in there?
Oh, usual junk in the glove compartment, and I found this road map of the Low Countries. That was on the rear window ledge.
Issued by the Four Corners Travel Agency, Lower Chelsea Place.
Perhaps they arranged Didcot's little jaunt for him.
Well, we'll soon find out. Right, thanks a lot, George. See you.
See you, Tony. Hey!
Yep?
What do you want me to do with it?
What?
The car.
Oh, park it somewhere.
Oh, to be found, eh? When?
As soon as possible. I don't want Didcot to worry too much.
He doesn't even know it's gone.
Oh, how do you know?
If he'd contacted the police, we'd have heard all about it.
So he hasn't reported it?
Not yet.
Well, that doesn't mean to say he doesn't know it's missing, does it?
Oh.
See you, George.
See you, Tony.
I've roughed out 10 different routings to Diem Wen Cha and made arrangements for all the couriers to be there on the 10th.
Good.
Departures cover a 5-day period so that 2 couriers check out every 24 hours.
Excellent. The client wants the various shipments to arrive on the same day.
If we work to this schedule, he'll get it. The last couriers stop over at certain points en route.
Inexpensively, I trust.
Made arrangements like this before, Mr. Blakeson.
And most satisfactorily, Mrs. Carberry. The first rule of the Treasury is that monies paid out must always be zealously guarded, because they have an unpleasant way of increasing.
So this time we fork out a few more quid. What's the odds, Mr. B? This is the biggest shipment so far.
When we formed this partnership 2 years ago, it was agreed that you would manufacture the trinkets for us, Max. Mrs. Carberry would be in charge of personnel and shipping, and I would assume overall management. That includes approval of all expenses.
Anything you say, Mr. B. Hello?
Max? Listen, it's Tom Didcot. My car's been swiped. I left it outside my place.
Someone knocked it off.
Yeah.
Well, don't tell me, darling. Call the police.
Call the... Do you think I'm mad?
Listen, darling, your car's been swiped. That's illegal, a felony, an offence against the law, so report it. That's what the police are there for.
Yeah, but what if they're onto us and they took the car?
Sweetheart, the vehicle's properly registered, fully insured, mechanically perfect, and clean as a Black Mariah. Report it.
Sorry, Max, I can't. I think they're onto us.
Hang on a minute. Do you hear that, Mr. B? That was Didcot. His car's been knocked off.
All right, what's the problem?
Well, he's scared to report it.
He's got to report it or the police will be suspicious.
But he won't. He's scared.
I see. Well, if he won't talk to the police voluntarily, he mustn't be allowed to talk to them at all. Look, Mrs. Carberry, I've raised a great deal of money to buy that gold. And when we've sold it and paid our bills, there'll still be plenty to share out. Now, Didcot is not going to jeopardize that.
That's what I thought, Mr. B.
Then do something about it.
Hello, sweetheart. You still there?
Yeah?
Listen, Uncle Max is on his way to sort it out for you. All right, love?
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Don't you worry, sweetheart. I'll take care of it. You too, sweetheart. All right, Mr. B? Thank you, Max.
Good morning, Jean.
Good afternoon, Tony.
Well, I had a late night.
So I hear.
What brings you here today, apart from the pleasure of seeing me?
I've got bad news, Tony. Didcot had an accident during the night.
What kind of accident?
The fatal kind. His cleaner found him at the foot of the stairs. His neck was broken.
Slipped on a banana skin, I suppose.
Well, if he did, there's no sign of the skin.
When did this happen?
The lab says sometime after 2 this morning.
Was the car reported missing?
No.
I wonder if he knew it was missing.
Well, if he did, why didn't he call the police?
Probably wanted to, but somebody stopped him.
Who? And why?
I don't know. One thing I'm certain about is falling downstairs wasn't any accident. Didcot was a gold smuggler. Member of the gang who killed Dave Welford. Somehow or other, he stepped out of line, and I've got to find out why. I'd like to take a look at his personal effects.
Well, that shouldn't be too difficult to arrange.
But this afternoon. Because by tomorrow, Didcot has to be an old friend of mine.
What are you planning to do, Tony?
I'm going to try for a job. Maybe a paid holiday, I'm not sure. Maybe the Four Corners Agency can tell me which it's going to be.
Can I help you?
I'd like to make some inquiries about climbing holidays.
Had you any particular area in mind?
Well, I was wondering about Norway.
Which part of Norway?
I leave the choice entirely up to you. Tom said you wouldn't let me down.
Tom?
Tom Didcot. He's a good friend of mine. And one of your most satisfied clients.
No, I don't think I know the name.
But you must. You just organized a little jaunt for him driving through the Low Countries, remember? He speaks highly of this place.
That's very kind of him.
Why not? After all, it was you who got him the job.
What job?
Traveling. Like that trip to the Low Countries. That was business of a sort, wasn't it?
Was it? I really don't know.
Oh, but, I gathered you made all the arrangements.
There were no arrangements to make. I booked the trip, that's all.
Oh, well, I must be mistaken, but I thought he said...
What?
Oh, well, that he was paid to travel and you arranged it. Oh, well, never mind. Next time I see him, I'll straighten it out.
Perhaps you'd better.
Well, thanks, anyway.
Oh, what about that trip to Norway? Don't you want to go now?
Oh, yes, well, supposing I leave you my name and address, and when you're organizing a trip, perhaps you'd get in touch with me.
Certainly.
My name's Miller. Tony Miller. My address, 17 Hawthorne News, SW3.
17 Hawthorne News, SW3.
Right. Well, I'll wait till I hear from you. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mr. Miller.
My dear, I'm a cautious man, but I see no cause for alarm. A man who on occasion used the services of your agency falls down a flight of stairs and breaks his neck. Why should they bring the police to your door, hmm? Especially a plainclothes man. Oh, no, this man Miller may be all that he claims. Friend of Didcot's fishing for a job.
Then you'd like me to interview him?
Well, we do need a replacement. Yes, have a talk with him. Make it to 8:30 tomorrow evening. Usual precautions, of course.
Very well, Mr. Blake.
Now, don't rush it. Max must have ample time to make his inquiries. You'd better give me Miller's address. Thank you. Now, I've been looking at the schedule of these flights to Dien Wen Chau, and I've one or two comments to make. There are places where we seem to be spending money unnecessarily. Now, take this item, for instance.
And I'm to see her this evening at 8:30.
What's she like?
Oh.
Really? Where are you meeting us?
The agency?
Oh, how disappointing for you.
Oh, I may bring her up here later, but I want a few alterations made first.
Oh, what?
Well, the place needs chinsing up a little to look as if I'm living beyond my means.
That's how it does look.
Very funny.
And you can take out some of those demand notes you keep buried in that bottom drawer.
I want a few put in, and some betting slips and book matches from the strip clubs, you know, things like that.
Oh, Mrs. Carberry will be impressed. What if she doesn't come up?
Someone will. Of course, I mightn't be here at the time, but I'll know.
How?
One hair glued across here. When the drawer's opened, and it will be, the hair will break.
Well, it should work. After all, it has done in every bad movie I've ever seen.
Where do you think they got the idea from in the first place?
What time do you want this renovating finished by?
About 5-ish. I need a couple of hours to get used to it.
Optimist. You'll need longer than that by the time I've finished with it. In fact, I don't think you'll ever be able to live here again.
This is my VIP lounge. Normally used for entertaining clients who plan trips around the world.
And I'm flattered.
You shall be, Mr. Miller.
Call me Tony.
Very well. Tony. Cheers.
Cheers.
So you read about Tom Didcot?
Yes. Last night's paper, it was quite a shock.
Must have been.
It's funny, but he's about the last person in the world I thought would die that way.
How do you mean?
He just didn't seem the type. Fall downstairs, sure, but get killed doing it, not Tom.
But that's what happened, isn't it?
Well, that's what the papers say.
But you're not sure.
Of course I'm sure. How else could it have happened? Just seems such a crazy way for a man like Tom to go, that's all.
Were you close friends?
Well, I knew him a long time, if that's what you mean.
How long?
10 years, off and on. We used to knock around together for a while, then maybe 6 months had passed and we wouldn't see each other once.
When was the last time?
But I saw him about 2-3 weeks ago.
Then you didn't see him after he got back from his trip?
No.
What do you do for a living, Tony?
A little of this, a little of that, you know.
No, I don't know.
Well, I mainly sell things for a living.
What sort of things?
All right, to be more precise. Property, second-hand cars, antiques, anything. You name it, I've sold it.
If appearances count, you've done rather well.
That's what any salesman wants you to think.
Have you ever been in trouble?
My bookmaker?
No.
Well, I've never been in judge, if that's what you mean.
Because you're honest, or because you've never been caught?
Now, that's a leading question, Mrs. Carberry.
I'd like an answer.
Well, I've never been booked. Not even on suspicion, all right?
It's evasive, but it'll do. In this business, we have to be very careful.
What business is that?
Travel. Tom Didcot was telling you the truth. From time to time, I do arrange little business deals. As a sideline only. If you're interested.
I'm interested.
When?
Immediately.
Your passport's in order?
Yes, I've also got a valid vaccination certificate.
I'll need a couple of photographs for my file.
Sure. Something coming up?
There may be a quick there and back flight in the offing. I'll put your name down. You may be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, who knows? I'd like to ask you a couple of questions.
Yes.
Is there a Mr. Carberry?
There is, somewhere.
Then may I take you out to dinner?
Why don't we let the company's expense account stand the strain?
Fine by me.
I'll get my coat. I'll put up your name. You may be one of the lucky ones.
Yeah, who knows? I'd like to ask a couple of questions.
Yes.
Is there a Mr. Carberry?
There is, somewhere.
Then may I take you out to dinner?
Why don't we let the company's expense account stand the strain?
Fine by me.
You can say that again.
Quiet.
I'll get my coat. Well, that's that.
That was quite well handled, Mrs. Carberry.
Thank you.
What was the reason for your aside, Max?
Because he's under the gun. His room's full of rude letters about money owes. That boy's lived it up.
So, do you think he's a candidate?
Don't see why
Mrs.
not.
Carberry?
I think he may work out well.
All right, then it's settled. Start a file on him. All right, Max, let's have a look at some of your trinkets.
Ah, yes. Well, first of all is this pen. Don't write, of course, but that's because the nib's not the only part that's gold. Likewise with the pencil. Now, the leads ain't. I've also got a very nice line in watches. They'll keep lousy time, of course, because they got no works. Now, this pair of heels would support you for a few years. Huh? And I've got gents to match.
Yes, well, congratulations, Max.
Thanks, Mr. B.
Very ingenious. Then, if we're all agreed, I think it's time we started shipments to Dien Wen Cha.
I can check the first courier out the day after tomorrow.
2 a day, for 5 days. That means they'll all be en route within a week.
The last 2 fly direct to Dien Wen Cha.
So we can complete delivery within 9 days. Yes, that should do very nicely.
Well, who goes first?
Only one of them.
Except Miller, sent him last. He's inexperienced. And if he gets caught, at least the other 9 will have got safely on their way. Meanwhile, here's to Dien Wen Cha.
Come in.
Well, how do you like it?
Thank you for wrecking my flat. I don't think I've ever seen such an outburst of bad taste in all my life.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's rather you.
Thank you.
Oh, why did you call me? What's happened?
Carberry's phoned. I'm hired.
What has?
Courier?
Carrying gold?
No one's mentioned the cargo yet.
Where are you going to?
I don't know. You could find that out.
Uh-huh. How?
Through the International Air Transport Association. Ask them to alert all airlines about bookings made through the Four Corners Agency and have the information fed back to you.
Why only the airlines? How about the sea passengers?
Well, Midge Carberry said it'd be a fast flight there and back. She also said that I might be one of the lucky ones, which means there's probably a group of us going to the same place. Different routes, maybe, but the same destination.
What should we do about this group?
Let them through. I don't want any premature panic.
Will you keep in touch with us?
Not anymore. From here on in, I think things are going to get a bit dicey.
Well, be very careful, won't you, Tony?
Well, if I can't be careful, I'll be very, very good. Now, but Jean, I've got to go. Because unless I do, I can't prove a thing. Till I've got some gold in my hand. And I wonder who's going to put it there.
To Jianwen Cha. When? Uh-huh. Miss Alice Henderson. And who else? Mr. Robert Ashley. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Here you are, Jean. 2 more carefree clients off to the far and mysterious east.
Well, so far, the only thing they've all got in common is that they're all going to be in Jianwen Cha on the same day.
Hello, yes? Oh, 2 more. Good. What are the names? Trussler and Miller. Where's Miller off to? KLM 451, Rotterdam to Jianwen Cha. Direct flight in 5 days' time. Look, any flight fixed for a motor over to Rotterdam? No? Oh, probably crossing on the Harwich to Hook boat, eh? Right, thank you. Goodbye. You were right, Jean. Tony's hired.
Come in. I thought you'd forgotten me.
Why?
I've been hanging around for weeks.
Not really.
Seems like it. Drink?
Thanks. Scotch.
Anything with it?
Soda. You lived here long, Tony?
A few months,
Alone?
usually.
Why's that?
Oh, I like to cultivate a certain degree of independence. Makes life a little more complicated, but it also makes it a lot more fun.
I can understand that. I feel rather the same myself.
Since Mr. Carberry?
Even during. That was the trouble.
To independence?
And complications.
How long have you been in this racket, Midge?
Which racket?
Whatever racket you're in, apart from your sideline.
About 2 years.
What took you into it?
Oh, lots of things. Mainly because I was bored and wanted money. The racket took care of both.
Completely?
Nothing ever takes care of anything completely, does it? I've got a business trip lined up for you, Tony.
Good.
And very soon.
Better still. I could use a little business. You know, things have been pretty slack. Lots going out, nothing coming in.
Tony,
Yes?
you really did know Tom Digford, didn't you?
I told you he was a good friend of mine. I was through him that I got in touch with you.
Yes,
Will you believe me, don't you?
I think so.
Think so.
Got an awful lot riding on this deal, Tony. I'd hate to make a mistake in choosing the people I hire. Especially in your case.
Why me in particular?
Oh, lots of reasons. I like you for one.
Thank you. I like you.
And I'd hate to see you get hurt.
Is that likely to happen?
Only if I've made a mistake.
Then you haven't a thing to worry about.
In that case, let's go.
You mean right now?
Right now. Got your bag?
Packed and ready.
Here are your tickets and expenses.
Where am I going?
Tonight, Harwich. We're driving there.
That'll be nice.
Then you take the night boat to the Hook of Holland, and tomorrow a jet to the other side of the world.
Now, that's quite a trip. You coming too?
No, Tony, I'm not.
I'm sorry about that.
So am I. But there'll be other times, other trips. Needn't always say goodbye to you at Harwich. Come on, get your coat. Got everything?
I don't know, Midge. Have I?
You've got all you need for the present. The rest we'll pick up later.
Miller, the last one, Mr. B. He leaves from Rotterdam. Midge is driving into Harwich.
Has he got his consignment?
No, not yet. Midge is stopping off here on the way to the boat.
I don't like that. The less those couriers know about this end of the business, the happier I am.
You've got a point there, Mr. B.
Of course, Mrs. Carberry herself makes us vulnerable, Max. She's the link between the couriers and ourselves. It's been a necessary hazard. Up to now. What's Miller carrying?
Oh, a watch, 2 pens, a pencil, one of the lighters, pair of shoes, a broken electric razor. That's his file.
Good, good. Wait a minute. I've seen this man before.
Where?
I don't know, but it was quite recently.
I don't see how you could have. We didn't even know he existed till he walked into the agency and said he was a friend of Didcot's.
Didcot. That's it, of course. He was on the boat the last trip I made. Miller was in the lounge. I noticed him when Didcot went to the garage. Now, they were sitting together at the bar, but they never spoke to each other.
They were pals and didn't even speak to each other?
I'm certain they didn't.
Wait a minute. Miller told Midge he hadn't seen Didcot in a couple of weeks. It's on that tape.
When Miller gets here, talk to him, Max. He lied. I want to know why.
I'll find out why, Mr. B.
Hello, Jean. Bad news, I'm afraid. Tony wasn't on the boat. No, no doubt about it. He definitely wasn't there. Now, look, will you double-check his airline booking from Rotterdam? There may have been a mistake. Anyway, find out as quickly as you can, and the minute you hear, let me know, eh? Now, look, don't worry, Jean. I'm sure he's all right. Bye.
Hello, Max. This is Tony Miller.
Hello there, Tony.
Hello.
Midge, I wonder if I could have a word with you in private for a minute.
Sure, what's the matter?
Well, nothing serious. Just a bit of trouble at the transport end of things, that's all. Tony? Yeah? Do you mind buying yourself a cup of tea at the cafe on the corner while I sort this out with Midge?
Sure.
It's on the phone. We'll give you a call when we're ready.
Right. See you, Midge.
First on the right, 100 yards down the road.
Right.
Now, what's this? What's wrong, Max?
Come inside.
Well, what is it?
What do you know about this geezer?
Tony?
Yeah, Tony.
Well, no more than you. His name, his address, and the friend is... In fact, he's a friend of Didcot's.
And that's all?
Well, certainly that's all. Why do you ask?
You trust him?
Yes. Yes, I do trust him.
Female intuition, I suppose.
Look, I don't know what this is all about, but I must say I strongly resent your manner. I've chosen all the personnel in this organization for the past 2 years. I haven't made a mistake yet.
It's always the first time.
And what's that supposed to mean?
Well, you said he was a friend of Didcot's.
Well, so he is. He knows more about the man than I do.
Yeah, but you don't have to be somebody's friend to know things about them. There are other ways of finding out.
Max.
And Mr. B saw them on the ship together, that very last trip.
Tony and Didcot?
Tony and Didcot. And they never said a word to each other. Not a sausage. The way Mr. B tells it, Miller didn't know Didcot from a hole in the ground. Sorry, darling, it seems your intuition's gone a bit wonky. You picked up a bogey.
So what happens now?
As far as you're concerned, nothing. All you've got to do is get back in that car and wait for Tony to come back.
And then what?
Then you go up to London, darling. By yourself, I'm afraid. Of course, Tony Boy's staying there with Uncle Max. We've got a lot to talk about. Well, go on, sweetheart. Get in the car. You don't want to leave without saying goodbye to Tony, do you? Hello, Charlie. Max here. Look, have you got a gent there by the name of Miller? Yeah, that's him. Send him down the garage, will you? Tell him Mrs. Carberry wants to see him. Me too. Ta-ra, Charlie.
The airline says his reservation's been cancelled, Mike. Something must have happened to Tony.
Now, easy, Jean. He didn't commit himself to any specific plan. All Tony said was that he tried to get some gold. For all we know, he may still be in the swim.
Do you honestly believe that?
Oh, I know Tony can take care of himself.
So could Dave Welford.
That kind of thinking won't help, Jean.
I'm sorry, Mike.
We've got to give him more time.
But please, Mike, he may be in serious trouble.
If he is, picking up the couriers won't help. And if he isn't showing our hand, will only jeopardize his chances of success.
Such a gamble.
A calculated risk, Jean. We'll sit tight for a few hours. It's the only thing we can do. And it's the only chance he's got.
Now, Midge, everything all right now?
She's not talking now, Tony. You've been a naughty boy. You've been telling lies. Let's have that story again, sweetheart.
How many more times?
Till I'm ready to believe it.
All right, I was on the boat.
And you saw Tom Didcot?
Yes.
And why'd you tell Mrs. Carberry you hadn't seen him in a couple of weeks?
He asked me to.
You spoke to him then?
We were friends.
When did you have this little chat?
Shortly after the boat left the hook.
What was it all about?
I told him I was looking for a job. He said he was working for Mitch Carberry.
Doing what, love?
Didn't say. Just told me to get in touch with her.
But you wasn't to tell her you met him on the boat?
That's right.
Why not?
I don't know. It was probably something to do with the job. I mean, he was being watched.
Was he?
Well, someone saw me on the boat. That's why I'm like this now.
You shouldn't tell lies, love. You're not lying now, are you?
Ask Didcot.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I can't prove it's the truth, and you can't disprove it.
You won't run away, will you, darling?
You must be joking.
Hello? Oh, Mr. B. Yeah, he admits being on the boat.
Why did he lie? Uh-huh. Do you think he's telling the truth now, or is he, please?
No, I think he's a sharpie trying to pull a fast one.
Well, I hope you're right. Anyway, keep him there till tomorrow. Now, look, he hasn't seen any of the cargo, has he? Good. Well, if everything goes according to plan, I think you can let him go. He knows nothing.
Yeah, I tell him he didn't get the job. Fancy a cup of tea, sweetheart?
Thanks.
Try and tie those hands of yours. Don't try and be clever, because you're liable to get hurt.
Well, don't tell me you've decided to believe me.
Now, we're making up our minds.
Well, I know.
Tomorrow.
If you do believe me,
You'll be lucky.
and if you don't,
You won't.
Any word from Miller?
I'm afraid not.
So we have to catch minnows while the big fish go free, eh?
Well, there doesn't seem much else we can do, does there? Still, we might net the Carberry woman.
You hope one of the couriers will incriminate her. She'll deny all knowledge of what they're doing. No, there's only one way to keep the pressure off Miller until the last possible moment.
What's that?
It's not a plan I'd normally employ, but in this instance, I think it's justifiable. I'm going to ask the Treasury to authorize an immediate transfer of gold to the Gen government.
You're going to do what?
It's a very effective, if somewhat dramatic method of putting paid to gold smugglers.
I don't understand.
Well, gold is used to measure a country's economic strength. The more gold it has, the more secure it is. And in a country where gold reserves are low, where the economy is shaky and the danger of inflation very real, the one method of guaranteeing personal security, come what may, is to own gold.
But that's illegal, isn't it?
Yes, but that doesn't stop some people. At the moment, there's a demand for illegal gold in Genwan-Cha. And the smugglers who bought their gold on the relatively cheap European market stand to make a lot of money reselling it. But if we sell or lend gold to the Gen government, we strengthen the economy. And as a result, weaken the price of illegal gold. And the smugglers, who have gone to a lot of expense to buy and ship their gold, find they can't make a penny on the sale. In fact, they lose their shirts.
But they've still got the gold.
Ah, but not for long. Their business transactions are usually so involved that in the face of disaster, they get very terse with one another. And the knives come out and the police move in.
But how would such a plan help Tony?
It'll give them a few more hours, Jean. The arrangements will have to be kept strictly confidential until the last possible moment. I'd better ring the Treasury right away. Hello, Ferris here. Will you get me Sir Alistair Burton at the Treasury, please?
I'm off to Holland for 2 days tomorrow. I'd like this retyped now so that I can sign it as soon as before I leave the Treasury tonight.
Yes, Mr. Blakeson.
It'll mean you're having to stay late to get it done, Miss Armstrong. I'm sorry.
That's all right, sir. My ride home has been delayed anyway. There's a flap on.
Well, what sort of flap?
Oh, some sort of gold transfer to one of those small Asian countries.
Which country?
Funny sort of name. Made me think of dancing. Something cha-cha.
Dien Wen Cha?
That's it. Well, sort of name, isn't it? Especially for that part of the world. More like Latin American, Brazil.
That'll be all. Thank you, Miss Armstrong. Get me an outside line, will Oh, Mrs. Carberry, Arthur Blakeson here. I've got to see you at once. It's very important. No, not at my place. I think the agency would be best. Yes, at the agency between, say, 7:30 and 8 o'clock. Right.
Jean. Jean!
Just a little more time, until 8:30. Please, Mike. He'll call in by then, I'm certain.
I'm sorry, Jean, it's already early morning out there. The couriers will be arriving any minute. Midge Carberry's our one lead at this end. We've got to get her before the news of the gold loan breaks and she disappears.
And Tony?
We've got to go ahead, Jean.
Mike.
We've got to. I've no alternative. Come on, let's go.
Travel much?
I can't go gallivanting around like you, darling, not with this place to run.
Oh, no, it's your livelihood.
That's right.
And an honest one.
Well, we'll do the best we can, love.
Well, this place, I'd say you're onto a safe bet. The motor car's here to stay.
Yeah, well, I'd like to spread out a bit, but I ain't got it up here. Not like you, living by me wits.
Look where they got me. Halfway to Harwich. Not the best advertisement for the courier game.
Don't kid me, darling. You're doing all right.
I wouldn't say I was doing all right. My past achievements won't help me now. I'm concerned about my immediate future.
Yeah, well, if things work out, you ain't got much to worry about.
You'll put in a word for me?
I might, but your sort normally give me a pain.
What's so special about me?
Well, you don't sweat when the pressure's on. Not like your friend Didcot. He fair got the wind up after that.
After that what?
Never you mind, darling.
Would you mind untying my legs?
Leave off. I'm already putting a good word in for you with the boss, haven't I?
What's he like?
Who?
The boss.
Got brains, that one.
Does he travel much?
Yeah, he's back and forward like a woman parking a car.
Much as that?
Yeah, he ain't paid a penny duty on cigars for years.
With today's prices, I don't blame him.
Yeah, as far as he's concerned, the Hook Harwich boat's a tobacconists.
What's he do apart from smoke?
Minds his own business, darling.
Like I should.
Well, you said it, not me.
Gin.
What, again?
Again. Let's hope my luck holds out.
Take a look back there, Jean, see what you can find. I'll try in here. Jean?
Yes?
Come here.
What is it?
Midge Carberry. She's been shot. Silence is golden, all right, eh? Where do we go from here?
Gin. Talk about luck. God, blimey. No nonsense now, darling. You've been a very good boy up to now.
Hello? Leach, it's gone sour. We've got to get out. Now listen, stay where you are, and I'll come down and pick you up.
What do you mean? What went wrong? Well, who's responsible? I'll take care of it right now. Fancy another cup, sweetheart?
Thanks.
1 lump or 2?
2, thanks. Don't worry about the milk, sweetheart. I don't take it.
Yes, right away. I have to leave immediately. Thank you, goodbye.
Come on, sweetheart. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine. Look what I found. Now, I've got a few questions to ask you. This little item over here, for instance. Now, I wonder what that could be. I know. It's a mold. Now, what would you want with a mold in a place like this? Unless it's to melt down gold in convenient shapes, like the inside of this pen, for instance.
Why don't you belt up?
So your boss is on his way, is he? Well, when he gets here, you're going to ask him in. Nicely now, because you and I have a personal account to settle.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
Dave Welford's what I'm talking about. He was a good friend of mine. I believe you met him once. Ask him in. Ask him in. No nonsense now, darling. You've been a very good boy up to now. Ask him in.
Hello, Mr. B. What took you so long?
There wasn't much time to reach the ferry, and the man I was after had a big, fast car. All I could flag down was a truck, but a £5 note worked wonders with the engine performance. I made it, but only just.
I wonder if you could help me.
I'll try, sir.
I'm looking for one of your passengers. He's a regular. You may know him.
We have a lot of regulars, sir.
This gentleman always buys his cigars on board.
Oh, there's not many that don't.
And I think his name begins with B.
Yeah, regular passenger, cigar smoker, begins with a B. No, there's only one person that could be.
Who's that?
That's Mr. Blakeson, sir.
Blakeson.
That's right, sir. The gentleman sitting over there.
Thank you very much. I join you.
I don't believe we've met before, have we?
Not directly, perhaps. My name's Miller. Tony Miller. As a matter of fact, I came over to ask you if I might borrow your pen.
I'm afraid it doesn't have any ink in it.
No, Mr. Blakeson. I'm sure it doesn't. Snap. Nor does mine. Shall we go? Allow me.
Oh, won't you be taking copy, Mr. Blakeson?
No, thank you, Herbert. I don't believe I will.
The contents of Blakeson's briefcase made very interesting reading. Good job of work, Tony.
Thanks, Mike.
You had me frightened out of my wits towards the end.
Did I?
Yes, we thought you'd back out when you knew the couriers would be arriving.
I was tempted to, Mike. But I hadn't a shred of evidence that gold was being smuggled till I took that pen off Blakeson.
Mike thinks very highly of you, Tony.
Oh?
Yes, he persuaded the government to part with £2 million worth of gold, just to give you more time.
Well, not exactly, Jean. Oh, it's true the GN government received a credit note for the gold, but as soon as the fallen price had done its job, they issued a similar credit note to us. So the two notes simply cancelled each other out.
I'm sorry, Tony, I withdraw it. In that case, he thinks you're worthless.